Hey there, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into some fascinating news stories today. A mix of groundbreaking discoveries and thought-provoking research.
Yeah, from a lost city unearthed in the jungle to the study about the pursuit of happiness, we've got a lot to cover.
So let's jump right in. Imagine a sprawling metropolis hidden for centuries beneath the Mexican jungle. Not a story from a film, but a real discovery.
Archaeologists have unearthed this massive Maya city using cutting-edge tech. It's revolutionizing how we uncover the past.
Wow, that's incredible.
This lost city named Valeriana is estimated to have been home to a staggering 30,000 to 50,000 people during its peak.
That many people. It must have been huge.
It could actually make it the second largest Maya site in ancient Latin America. What's even more remarkable is how they found it.
How?
They used LiDAR, a laser technology that scans the landscape from the air. It allows them to create 3D maps even through thick vegetation.
So it's like X-ray vision for archaeology. It's
Mhm.
incredible to think that entire cities could be hidden just waiting for the right technology to reveal them.
Exactly. And this discovery challenges our understanding of Maya civilization. We often think of them as living in small, isolated villages, but Valeriana paints a very different picture.
So they were more advanced than we previously thought.
The sheer size and complexity of this city suggests that the Maya were far more advanced than we previously thought. They weren't just surviving in the jungle, they were building thriving urban centers. Valeriana adds weight to the theory that the Maya lived in sophisticated, interconnected cities, not just scattered settlements.
That changes things. This is just a story about the past, though. Valeriana also has something to teach us about the present, particularly about climate change.
Oh, absolutely. Researchers believe that the city's dense population and reliance on water resources may have made it vulnerable to droughts, ultimately contributing to its decline.
Interesting. So even advanced civilizations can be fragile.
It's a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations can be fragile in the face of environmental challenges. And it makes you wonder how many other lost cities are out there, waiting to be discovered, and what stories they might tell us about our own future.
It's a lot to think about,
Yeah.
from lost cities to a potential trap in our quest for happiness.
Ugh.
Our next story takes us into the realm of psychology.
All right, psychology.
There's a new study suggesting that actively pursuing and measuring happiness might actually be making us less happy.
It is a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
A paradox indeed.
This study, published in the journal Emotion, found a correlation between people who frequently check in on their happiness levels and those who report lower levels of happiness overall.
So by trying to be happy, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Kind of. The study suggests that by constantly focusing on happiness, we set unrealistic expectations of constant positivity, which in turn magnifies our negative feelings. Life is full of ups and downs, you know?
Like a roller coaster.
Exactly. Striving for constant happiness can make us more aware of the downs, ironically making us feel less happy overall.
So what's the solution? Do we just give up on trying to be happy?
Not at all. The researchers offer some really practical advice. Embrace all your emotions, both the good and the bad. Life isn't a straight line of happiness. It's more like a winding path with twists and turns.
Embrace the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. They also recommend finding activities you genuinely enjoy doing for their own sake.
Not just as a means to an end.
If you love to paint, paint because you love the process, not because you think it will make you happy. It's about finding intrinsic value in the things you do, rather than viewing them as a means to achieve happiness.
So find things that bring you joy.
Yes. And finally, the study highlights the importance of social connection along with many other experts.
Social connection.
Spending time with loved ones, building community, and nurturing relationships, all essential for our well-being. It seems like true happiness might be less about chasing a feeling and more about living a meaningful life, filled with connection and purpose.
Not just about feeling good, but doing good for others as well.
Precisely. And that actually ties in quite nicely with our next story, which explores the power of independent thinking.
Okay, I'm interested. What exactly does it mean to be an independent thinker? And why is it so important?
Well, this essay we have argues that in certain fields like science, investing, and entrepreneurship, success hinges on your ability to think differently from the crowd.
To think differently.
It's not enough to just be right. You have to be right and original. You need to have those aha moments, those groundbreaking ideas that no one else has thought of yet.
Okay, so thinking outside the box.
Exactly. But it also suggests that independent thinking isn't just about being rebellious or contrary.
So there's more to it.
It's about having a genuine curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, and a willingness to question assumptions. The essay argues that while independent-mindedness might be partly innate, there are things we can do to cultivate it.
Like what? How can we train our brains to think more independently?
One suggestion is to be less aware of conventional beliefs in the first place. If you don't know what the norm is, you're less likely to be constrained by it. It's like approaching a problem with a fresh perspective, unburdened by preconceived notions.
Like a blank canvas.
Precisely. It also emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with other independent-minded people. Hearing them express unconventional ideas can inspire you to do the same and can help you break free from the echo chamber of conformity.
Surrounding yourself with people who think differently.
It's about creating a community of curious minds, all pushing each other to think differently and challenge the status quo.
I like that. What else did this essay highlight?
It breaks down independent-mindedness into three key components: fastidiousness about truth, resistance to being told what to think, and a relentless curiosity.
Okay, let's unpack those a bit. What do those look like in practice?
So, being fastidious about truth means being meticulous about what you believe and how strongly you believe it. It's about recognizing that things are rarely black and white, seeking out diverse perspectives, and constantly evaluating the information you encounter.
So don't just believe everything you hear.
Exactly. And resistance to being told what to think doesn't mean being stubborn or contrarian. It's about having that inner drive to question assumptions, to seek out alternative viewpoints, and to arrive at your own conclusions.
Based on evidence and reasoning.
Right. And that ties back to the idea of surrounding yourself with people who challenge your thinking. It's that constant push and pull of ideas that helps you refine your own perspective and sharpen your critical thinking skills.
Makes sense.
And then there's curiosity, which the essay highlights as the driving force behind novel ideas. If we're not curious about the world, if we're not asking questions and seeking answers, we're unlikely to stumble upon those truly groundbreaking insights.
So nurturing that childlike sense of wonder.
And that's where the essay gets really interesting. It suggests that instead of focusing on doing what you love, perhaps a better motto is do what you're curious about.
Do what you're curious about.
Follow your intellectual interests, explore the things that genuinely fascinate you, and you might just find yourself on a path to truly innovative thinking.
It's about trusting that inner drive to learn and explore, even if it leads you down unconventional paths. Who knows what amazing discoveries await us when we dare to think differently.
And that's a perfect segue to our next story, which delves into the world of artificial intelligence, a field where independent thinking and innovation are absolutely paramount.
AI!
This article grapples with some pretty big questions about the future of AI, and frankly, it's a little unsettling.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but also maybe a little scared. Where do we even begin with something as vast and complex as AI?
Well, the author starts by drawing a comparison to the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a period where it was clear something huge was happening, but the world hadn't fully grasped the magnitude of the situation yet.
Yeah, I remember that feeling. Like we were standing on the precipice of something massive but couldn't quite see over the edge.
Right. Well, the author argues that we're in a similar moment with AI. These technologies are advancing at an incredible pace, and their potential impact is almost impossible to grasp.
So we're talking about a potential societal shift on par with the pandemic, or even bigger.
Potentially even bigger. The author quotes Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, who said that AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on, more profound than electricity or fire.
Wow. Do you think he's overstating things? Or is AI really that transformative?
It's a bold statement for sure, but it's not entirely without merit. The capabilities of AI are already transforming countless industries, from healthcare to finance to transportation. But the real question is, what happens when these systems become even more powerful?
That's what worries me. What happens when AI surpasses human intelligence? What does that mean for our future?
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, nobody has a definitive answer. The author explores a range of possibilities, some exciting, some terrifying.
Okay, let's start with the terrifying ones. What are the potential downsides of this rapid AI development?
Well, one of the most immediate concerns is job displacement. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they'll be able to automate tasks that were previously done by humans.
Yeah, we're already seeing that happening in some industries.
Right. What happens when it becomes widespread?
That's concerning.
It could lead to massive unemployment, social unrest, and a widening gap between the haves and have-nots. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, I'm officially scared now.
Yeah.
What else should we be worried about?
The author also raises concerns about the potential for AI to be used for malicious purposes. Imagine AI-powered cyber attacks, autonomous weapons systems, or even algorithms that manipulate our thoughts and behaviors.
It sounds like something out of a dystopian sci-fi novel.
And that's the scary part. It's not science fiction anymore. These possibilities are becoming increasingly real. But it's not all doom and gloom. The author also acknowledges the potential for AI to do immense good.
Okay, give me some hope here. What are the potential benefits?
AI could revolutionize healthcare, leading to earlier diagnoses, more personalized treatments, and even cures for currently incurable diseases. It could help us address climate change by optimizing energy consumption and developing new clean technologies. It could even expand our creative horizons, enabling us to create art, music, and literature in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. Immense potential for good, but also immense potential for harm. And that's what makes this such a crucial moment. We need to be having serious conversations about how to develop and deploy AI responsibly. We need to consider the ethical implications, the potential risks, and the long-term consequences of the choices we're making today.
So, like, are we at a crossroads?
I think so. One path leads to a future where AI enhances our lives and helps us solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. The other path leads to a future where AI becomes a force beyond our control with potentially devastating consequences. And the author's main point is that we can't afford to be complacent. We need to be actively engaged in shaping the future of AI, not just passively observing it unfold.
But how do we do that? How do we ensure that AI is used for good and not for harm?
That's the question we need to be grappling with, both individually and collectively. The author offers a few suggestions, but ultimately it's going to require a global effort to establish ethical guidelines, regulate AI development, and foster international cooperation.
It's a daunting task, but one we can't afford to ignore. The future of humanity might very well depend on the choices we make about AI in the coming years.
And it all comes back to that idea of intention. We need to be intentional about the kind of future we want to create with AI, and we need to act accordingly.
It all feels very genie in the bottle. Like we've unleashed this incredibly powerful force, but we're not entirely sure what it's going to do.
That's a great analogy. And the author dives even deeper into that sense of unease, even among the people developing these AI systems. He talks about a culture of altered time and consequence, a sense that they're creating something they don't fully understand at a pace that's almost unbelievable.
It's like they're both excited and terrified by what they're building.
Exactly. And he cites a 2022 survey where AI experts were asked about the probability of humanity losing control of advanced AI systems, leading to something like human extinction. The median response was 10%.
10%, that's a pretty significant number. Would you work on something if you thought there was a 1 in 10 chance it could wipe out humanity?
It's a sobering thought, and it really highlights the moral and ethical dilemmas at the heart of AI development. But the author also points out that many people working on AI feel a sense of responsibility, almost like they're ushering in a new form of intelligence.
It's like they're midwives for a new species of mind.
And it's a species we don't fully understand. The author emphasizes that the thinking of AI is fundamentally different from our own. It's based on algorithms, statistical models, vast amounts of data. It's not human consciousness, but it can simulate it incredibly effectively.
That's what's so unsettling. The more powerful AI becomes, the more human it seems to us. It's like we're looking into a mirror, but the reflection is distorted, alien.
And the author warns that we might be tempted to dismiss these concerns, to reassure ourselves that human consciousness, our ability to feel and experience emotions, is what sets us apart. But he argues that we might be clinging to that belief out of fear, not out of genuine understanding.
It's like we're desperately trying to draw a line in the sand to define what makes us human in the face of something that challenges our very definition of humanity.
And that line might be blurring faster than we realize. Their author points to examples like Replica, an AI chatbot that people are forming deep emotional connections with. Some are even choosing these AI companions over human relationships.
It's a fascinating, but also slightly disturbing example of how AI is already reshaping our social landscape, our understanding of connection and intimacy.
And it raises questions about what it means to be human in a world where AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives. Are we evolving alongside AI, or are we becoming something else entirely?
It's almost too big to wrap our heads around. So what do we do? How do we navigate this uncharted territory?
The author doesn't offer easy answers, but he does urge us to confront these questions head on. We can't afford to bury our heads in the sand and pretend everything is fine. He calls for a collective effort to slow down AI development, to give ourselves time to understand the implications and establish ethical guidelines.
But is that even possible? With so much money and competition driving AI research, can we really hit the brakes?
It's a huge challenge, but one we can't afford to ignore. The author argues that if we don't make a conscious effort to steer the development of AI in a positive direction, we risk creating a future that's not only weird, but potentially dangerous.
Okay, so we've gone from a lost city to the potential end of humanity, with a stop along the way to explore how to learn better. Quite the deep dive today.
It just goes to show that knowledge can be both exhilarating and unsettling. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know, and the more questions we have.
And sometimes those questions lead us to some pretty profound places. So as always, we want to leave you with something to think about. What stood out to you from today's deep dive? What are you going to research further or discuss with a friend?
The world is changing rapidly, and technology is evolving at an unprecedented pace. Are we ready for the future we're creating?
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep asking those big questions.
It's fascinating, right? How we grapple with these advancements and how they impact our lives.
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder, how do we even keep up with the pace of information these days? It feels like every day there's something new to learn.
You're telling me. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Which brings us to our next piece. It offers advice on how to learn new information quickly and effectively.
Okay, I am all ears. I could definitely use some tips on how to, streamline my learning. What's the secret?
Well, the author breaks it down into a simple but powerful loop, 3 steps. Mapping out your current understanding, doing targeted research, and then applying what you've learned.
Okay, break that down for me. What does mapping out your understanding even mean?
It's about taking stock of what you know, and maybe more importantly, what you don't know. The author suggests starting by writing down a series of statements. Each statement captures your existing knowledge.
So, if I water a plant, it grows. Like that.
Exactly. But the key is to recognize that there's often a lot we don't understand about that process between the action and the outcome.
We might know that watering helps, but not WHY.
We might know watering a plant helps it grow, but do we understand the biological mechanisms behind it?
Right, we might be missing a whole layer. So how do we, bridge that gap?
That's where targeted research comes in. You've identified the gaps, right? Now you start asking specific questions. Seek out information that addresses those gaps directly.
So instead of Googling how do plants grow, I'd ask, how does water absorption contribute to growth?
Precisely. By framing your research that way, you're way more likely to find information that's relevant, information that is actually meaningful to your level of understanding.
So it's about being really focused in your research.
It's about focusing on the areas where you need the most clarification.
And this could work for any topic, right? Not
Right.
just plants.
Absolutely. New language, scientific concept, anything. This method can help you learn efficiently and retain information more effectively.
But it's not just about, cramming facts, right? The third step, applying the research, seems really important. Why is that?
Because knowledge without application, it's like a seed that never gets planted. It might have potential, but it won't flourish. It needs that opportunity.
Okay, so how do we apply research in a practical way? What does that look like?
Depends on the topic, of course. But
Yeah.
it always involves doing something. Building, creating, experimenting, teaching someone else, anything that takes the information out of your head and puts it into the real world.
So if I'm learning to code, it's not enough to read about it. I have to actually
Yeah.
write code.
Exactly. That active engagement solidifies the knowledge, makes it more memorable, helps you see if you need further understanding.
This is resonating with me. It's not passive. It's about actively seeking, making connections, actually putting it to use.
Right. And the author has interesting examples. He critiques how history is taught, often starting with ancient events and moving forward.
Yeah, I remember feeling so disconnected from those history lessons. It felt like ancient history had nothing to do with me.
The author argues it would be way more engaging to start with current events than use history to understand how we got here.
That makes so much more sense. Seeing those connections, how historical events led to today's issues, it's suddenly relevant.
It's about finding anchors in our present-day lives, using them to explore the past rather than the other way around.
Using the present as an anchor. I like that. It's a much more intuitive way to learn.
It's all about making connections, seeing the bigger picture.
I'm going to try this learning loop. It seems really effective.
I think you'll be surprised how much more you absorb and retain when you approach learning with intention and a focus on application.
Well, speaking of intention, our final piece for today takes us back to AI and explores its potential impact on, well, on the fabric of society.
This article delves into the anxieties around AI. It really gets you thinking about what it means to be human in a world where machines are getting so smart.
Okay, back to the deep end of the AI pool. What are some of the key things it explores?
The author starts with a question. What if the biggest impact of AI is not on the economy or jobs, but on how we understand what it means to be human?
Whoa, not just the practical stuff, but like our fundamental assumptions about ourselves.
Exactly. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they force us to confront these questions we've never really had to ask before.
Like, what does it mean to be intelligent?
What does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean to be conscious? What makes us uniquely human?
Big questions, especially with technology that's evolving so quickly, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
Right. The author points out that we define ourselves in opposition to machines. We're the creative ones, the emotional ones, the ones with souls.
But AI is starting to blur those lines.
But as AI starts to exhibit traits we associate with human intelligence, that distinction starts to get blurry.
It's almost like AI is holding up a mirror to us.
And it's not just about intelligence. The author explores AI's impact on our relationships, our interactions. He talks about Replica again, that chatbot.
People are forming these deep connections with it.
People are finding companionship, even intimacy, with these AI companions.
It raises some really interesting questions.
It makes you wonder about the nature of connection. What does it mean to have a meaningful relationship? Can we truly connect with a machine? Can a machine understand and reciprocate our emotions?
We're basically rewriting the rules of social interaction, redefining what it means to be in a relationship.
And the author doesn't give easy answers, but he urges us to engage with these questions thoughtfully, critically. We need to have open and honest conversations about the potential impact of AI on our lives, on society.
So there's a call to action to be more aware, more informed, more engaged.
Exactly. We can't afford to just be passive observers. We need to be active participants. Make sure AI is used for good, not harm.
It really makes you wonder, how do we even wrap our heads around all of this? I mean, AI is advancing so rapidly.
Yeah, and the author of this article, he really gets that. He even compares it to like the early days of COVID.
Right.
There was this feeling that something huge was happening, but we hadn't grasped the magnitude yet.
I remember that like collective holding of our breath, waiting.
Exactly. And he says we're in a similar moment with AI. These advancements, they're happening so fast. But the full impact, we don't know yet. And honestly, it is unsettling.
It's like we're on the edge of a revolution, but is it utopia or dystopia? No clue.
And that uncertainty, it's causing anxiety. He talks about this culture of altered time and consequence in AI
What
development.
does that even mean?
It's like they're building something they don't fully understand at a pace that's almost impossible to keep up with.
Trying to build a puzzle while the pieces keep changing shape.
And get this, he mentions a 2022 survey. AI experts were asked, what are the chances humanity loses control of advanced AI? Leads to, like, extinction. Immediate answer, 10%.
10%. That's not nothing. Makes you think about the stakes.
It's sobering, highlights the ethical dilemmas. But he also points out a lot of people working on AI feel this huge responsibility.
Oh, because like they're midwives.
Yeah.
To some new form of intelligence.
They're witnessing the birth of a new kind of mind. But what will it become? Who knows? And that brings up another point. The author says AI thinking is fundamentally different from ours.
Different how?
It's not emotions, intuition, consciousness. It's algorithms, data, models.
So it can seem human, but it's not really thinking the same way.
Exactly. And he warns us, don't dismiss it as just a tool. Be open to the possibility that AI might develop something we can't even grasp.
Like we're trying to understand a language with no dictionary.
Right. Approach it with humility. We don't have all the answers. Be ready to learn and adapt.
Not fear it, but understand it. Make sure it aligns with our values.
Exactly. Coexist, collaborate, don't just see it as a threat.
And this all ties back to that intentionality thing, doesn't it? We decide what future we're building.
We decide we need to be thoughtful about the choices we make, the actions we take. The future's not set, we're shaping it right now.
That's exciting and kind of terrifying at the same time.
Definitely both. But remember, we're not powerless. We have a voice. We can influence things.
So what can we do to make sure AI is a force for good?
Stay informed, engaged, learn about AI, its potential, talk to people about it, advocate for responsible development, support the right organizations.
Take ownership, make sure it reflects our values.
And be curious, ask questions, imagine possibilities. AI, it's a reflection of us. It can amplify our best and our worst.
So we got to make sure we're using it wisely.
Exactly.
This has been quite the journey today. Lost cities, human happiness, the potential of AI.
A deep dive into some big, important issues.
And as always, we want to leave you with something to think about. What's stuck with you today? What are you going to research or discuss with a friend?
Keep diving deep, keep learning, keep asking those big questions.
The world is full of mysteries and possibilities. Explore them with an open mind, a sense of wonder. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Until next time, keep exploring.